Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show with my man Anthony Schlegel here. Got a big show for you today. Unfortunately, no AJ. He is traveling out Schlegs, Lake Tahoe for the American Century Classic that he plays in every year. Kind of snuck up on me this year. I think kind of the way the calendar hit, it felt like it hit a little bit earlier than normal. So yeah, that's he's on his way out there for that. I texted him yesterday. I was working on trying to get somebody on, get a player or something. I'm trying to get that done here. It's just tough with their schedule during the week, figuring that out. And they had one of their team workouts today, Schlegs, which was pretty legit. Those guys were getting after it. So it was fun to watch. You know, they've only got about 2.5 weeks left.
Yeah.
Of like legit training. So they've got that going on. It's also recruiting season and boom season, if you will. I don't know if you saw this, Schlegs, and I don't think I
Sure.
like there was a guy by the name of Felix Ojo, who offensive tackle from Mansfield. I think I talked to you about him. He came on a visit to Ohio State. I talked with him and his family. Really good people, and he just committed. And so he was talking with Ohio State, Michigan, Florida, Texas. Maybe was that it? But like 4 schools about like that, being one of them. I think Texas being another. And those were 4 of the 5. Do you know where he ended up committing?
You said he committed to Ohio State.
No, I didn't say he committed to Ohio State.
Oh.
So those were the 4. He came up here on a visit, and I met with him. Met with him and his family, great people. But he ended up just committing, not to Ohio State, but to a 5th school not in that selection set. Would you like to take a guess at what the 5th school was? So Ohio State, Texas, Florida, and Michigan, I think.
He's
from Mansfield. He's from Mansfield.
Mansfield, Ohio.
No, he's from Mansfield, Texas.
Oh, shoot. Hang on.
Right by you, where Steph's parents live.
Man, I wish I'd have been up here for that because I'd have been talking. We'd have been hitting up the same spots, man.
I don't think it would have mattered, but sure. His parents, great folks, man. His parents are from Africa, awesome people. He's really smart, 6'7", 285-pound, number 2 ranked player in Texas, 4 ranked tackle in the country or whatever.
That wasn't the kid that went to Texas Tech, was it?
That was the kid that went to Texas Tech.
Dang, the 5.1 million kid? I didn't even realize that. I didn't know. I didn't know that was the guy.
Yep. So that was him. And
well, let's talk more about that.
Well, that's why I brought it up, Schlegs, and because you look at the other schools and you're like, kind of which one doesn't belong. Like I said, it's Florida, Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, the kids from Mansfield, Texas. Did we talk about like what he ended up getting?
No, we didn't. As a matter of fact, it was in the Duma jig at some point. We might have arranged.
Yeah, it was probably around in there somewhere, but ended up getting a 3-year deal, $5.1 million. His agent was on Sirius XM 84, I think, on Monday, talking about it. They were very open with it, talking about how numbers for some schools had changed before the house settlement versus after, because then they had a finite amount of money with the salary, with the salary pool essentially, based upon the players, or based upon the other players on your team and the $20.5 million. So he committed there. Pat saying he faked out the crowd, put a Texas hat on, and then put on Tech. And that's wild. But $5.1 million guaranteed, like for a 3-year period. Like, for that guy, he's going to have to play right away. And maybe they are anticipating him playing. Let's take a little peek at this. Good job out of you, Pat.
College decision and life, I'll be committing to the University of Texas.
Look at him. Guys, pull out the hat. No, he's not putting it on. Is that bad? Is this bad? Yeah. So there it is. But $5.1 million guaranteed, and his agent was talking about the process of how that went, the negotiations, how some of the schools had changed their numbers, like I said, before June 30th and then after the house settlement came down. So a lot of different things. And then also like what that dynamic is going to be like in the locker room, what he's going to have to deal with. And he was very open and honest with it. Some of the schools up their offer. I know Ohio State was very competitive in it, but at some point, he's like, that's a lot of money to pay to somebody who at offensive line. I mean, just he may play as a freshman, but he's not going to be great. He's 285 pounds right now.
Right.
Like he's not going to be a great player as a freshman. You're compensating him as a great player early. And so not only must he play, he's got to be a great player by the time he leaves.
Yeah. And here's the hardest part about that, and not knowing his contract. What does it say from renegotiating? Remember, you got 2 portals, right? So what if he wants to go somewhere else? What if they pay him all this money in year 1 and then somebody, and he does do well, and then somebody else comes in and they're like, oh, we're developing him. We put on all this weight on him. He's that type of guy. He goes another place, can get a better deal in year 2 because there's no 2-year contracts for incoming freshmen, which I think there should be. That's kind of the problem with this. They got it.
Well, you can't put a 2-year contract together.
No. Remember what you and I have discussed. What we think needs to happen is all incoming freshmen should have to be at that university for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And that way there is development. You know where your money's going. It's solidified. And then after that, you can renegotiate, and everybody is on 1-year deals moving forward with only having 1 portal, not 2. And that way you have a start and a stop date from a contract obligation. That's what needs to occur. The problem with this is, yes, you have a 3-year deal, but you have a 3-year deal in which you can get out of it at any time. I don't know what the clauses are for him that he has to stay at Texas Tech. Obviously, he could leave, void the contract. How do they get that paid back? We don't know those details. So, and how much is that is guaranteed right now? How much is that is guaranteed before the season, after the season? What does it look like in totality? That's kind of the problem with this. And I think sometimes it's the 5.1 that really grabs our attention. It's over 3 years.
Yeah, because you know why, Schlegs, that's all guaranteed on his end, on their end, I believe. I mean, that was what a signing bonus was for probably, I bet, like Nick Mangold in our draft class. I'm guessing like 2006. I mean, I know it's 20 years ago, but that's probably what his signing bonus was, is like at the end of the first round pick.
I'm looking at our group chat. Our group chat's amazing. The hardest thing, and I'll say this till the end of time, the development, I would much rather use that money for other areas than paying for what could be and go after what can be. And that's what we selectively have done, especially in the offensive line perspective. You're still going to get some. And somebody was mentioning we're losing 5 stars. We're not. If there's one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to trust the way that Ryan Day and Mark Pantoni have structured their roster management throughout all of NIL and putting money where it needs to go and loading it heavily onto the guys that produce and making other guys earn that avenue. And guess what? If you do have to go get somebody from the portal that you like, that fits that niche, you can, but continue to enhance and develop, because a 3-star or a 4-star guy that you develop at Ohio State, because you have depth, you need it. We saw it. They used 9 to 10 guys last year in that offensive line. It actually gave us a better opportunity, I feel, moving into the 2025 season, because those guys aren't fresh after having to replace, 4 seniors. So I like what they're doing. I just don't like dumping a lot of money on the offensive defensive line. And this is all going to change.
You can play, I think, defensive linemen a little bit earlier, and you can rotate them in, but you're not going to play offensive linemen right off the jump. Like, that's the reality, not the reality of how it's going to happen and what's going to work. And so here you go, Schlegs, you'll like this. Nick Mangold, drafted, I forget what pick he was, with the Jets. Does it say? Yeah, 29th overall pick. All right. 5-year deal. $7.5 million, 5.6 guaranteed. Average per year value of about 1.5. So that is, he got more guaranteed, well, over a longer period, but basically over 3 years, about the same guarantees. Or maybe Felix got more than that, which is where we are, and that's fine.
Sure.
But like you said, for freshmen and offensive linemen, you're not going to recoup that value. And so how many 5 stars were on the team this year? Like, the best offensive lineman they had, who was drafted the highest, came out of the portal, you know?
Josh Fryer was there for a long time, right? Donnie was there for a long time.
Donnie's a 5-year guy. So you develop him. Yeah, Donovan Jackson was a really highly rated recruit. Simmons came from San Diego State. You know, they had to develop him when he got here. Very athletic guy, a little underdeveloped. And so I think kind of the mantra is, hey, if you can get a guy, that's great. And they swung hard at Felix because I think he's a great kid, great family, very physically gifted. So you swing hard at him. But if you lose him, I think the mantra is now like, hey, get regional guys, develop the heck out of them. There's a loyalty there. If they play really well, then you pay them really well and you keep them. And if they don't, then they probably transfer and go somewhere else to play. And then you get in the portal and you allocate those dollars on proven assets.
You got the Hoban kid, you got the Glenville kid. Well, that's a defensive lineman, but you got a couple of really good players from the state of Ohio. Remember, we were talking about Fick yesterday and kind of going back to like, what is it that you have in your backyard, Fick, right? It's like you got all these big, beefy dudes to be able to run the football, know who you are. But we just got Chris Henry. You just got a safety that you pulled out of LSU's backyard there in Baton Rouge. Like, you're getting the 5-star talent. Hell, you have a wide receiver room that's full of 5-star guys. You got 5-star quarterbacks. You got 4 and 5-star running backs. Like, there's 4 and 5 stars all over the place. The offense and defensive line, that's where you can get away with it. And there shouldn't be any crying. Like if people say anything, every time we hear something about this, and this goes into the Michigan fan that's in the chat right now, like, there'll be some Ohio State fans that are like, oh, Larry Johnson has lost his fastball. He can't recruit anybody. And then we brought up the fact that in his 11-year period, he's had 20 guys drafted at Ohio State. They're doing just fine. He just put 4 guys into the NFL.
Well,
you have to come up. What about Tyler Bowen, right? All right, Tyler Bowen comes in and is getting these recruits. Like, for some reason, people just can't compartmentalize because they don't remember. Right, like, we're doing fine. They're doing.
That's
great.
okay. They're good.
Okay.
I mean, there's some of the guys like Jack Sawyer and JT, super highly rated recruited guys. I mean, Chris Olave was not a super highly recruited wide receiver out of California. You know, when he came in, Heartline found him. They get him here, end up developing him at a really high level, and everything's cool. You know, you look at some of the other positions and players. Yeah, they've got guys that are really highly rated. And there's other guys that they've got and they developed. I mean, Cody Simon was not the most highly rated linebacker, but they really liked him. You develop him, and then all of a sudden he becomes a really good player, and everybody has this revisionist history. Arvell Reese was not some 5-star dude, and I think you're going to be blown away with how good he is this year.
No doubt.
You start looking at some of the guys on the offensive line. You know, like you had mentioned, Fryer. Yeah, not crazy highly recruited. Austin Sarabelt, I don't think was a crazy highly rated recruit. He's going to be really good this year. The guys that they developed have done a great job. And so they do that. They do a good job of it. Make it, so they're as good as developing guys on the interior and like in the trenches as well as anybody because of how physical and how combative the weight room is. And so when you do that, you're going to open some things up. And there's a guy that I want to get into next. Like I was trying to get on today. I'm going to try to get him on here. And because you were talking about fixed backyard and guys that are developed and dudes that are grinders and like their path and everything, like it just gets there. And everybody's got their own unique trail. Some guys come in and play right away. Guys that we play, some guys we played with, Santonio Holmes gets redshirted, and then ends up being a great player later. Like everybody's got their own path. And so to understand like it is where how it goes, well, it's a little bit different, obviously, for everybody. So we'll kind of see how all that tracks and how all that trends. But we're going to dive into a specific player next. We may start getting into some position group talk as we're getting ready to get close to camp here within the next couple weeks. Yeah, maybe do a different position group a day and break down everything that they've got, the pros, the cons, the depth, who is established, who is close to being there, and then guys that need to maybe make that leap this year to be on the field, and whether it's like a majority starting role or maybe a big rotational player, like who's got to make those leaps to be able to get to do that. But first, I want to tell you about our friends Schlegs over at Export. Parents and athletes, protect what matters most with Export mouth guards, trusted by professional athletes and designed by NHL team dentists. Export mouth guards are scientifically tested to help you absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. They feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber. They 3D print that bad boy right to your grill for more protection, better performance, max comfort, and that leads to clear communication so you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby today and save 15% on your order. Schlegs and I are getting ready to do that because we got football season gearing up for the boys. So, hey, it's time for them to get their export mouth guards to protect the grill and the chill.
I love it.
I got a little story of a little guy, not a little guy, a big dude here coming up next that will tell you about Ohio State centerman and what it looks like for him this year on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
So, let me tell you a little story about a guy. Came into Ohio State, started working his butt off, starts playing, plays pretty well. And then at the end of the season in 2023, I think maybe made some comments publicly. He ends up getting benched, doesn't start in the Cotton Bowl. Offensive line looks like a sieve out there. And, because of that, then Seth McLaughlin comes in. We had Seth on here. And Seth talked about the great relationship that he had with Carson Hinsman and how Carson learned a ton from him all year long. And then just waiting for his opportunity. Well, as fate would have it, you lose Simmons, Zen Mahalski gets hurt. They have to kick Donovan Jackson out. And then Carson comes in and dude, play guard. Great. Does a great job at guard. As fate would have it, Seth tears his Achilles. Well, now it's your turn, Carson. And so Carson then goes from being a guy who was a starter who lost his job. It's a little bit like Gladiator, Schlegs. The starter that lost his job, you bring in the recruit, the transfer portal guy. He's sitting behind him. Then he gets an opportunity to play a guard, doing a great job there. Such a good job, in fact, that hey, do we just keep him here after Seth goes down? But, he had learned so much from Seth at that point. And Seth, we had him on the show here, and he just waxed poetic about how athletic and how strong Carson is.
Yeah.
And then goes on that run. And if you go watch him, man, what he was able to do, he was denting the defensive line. They had a lot of interior push, and a lot of that was from him because of how good he was. And so, when things happen to you in life, you can either pout about them, you can take your ball and go home, you can cry, you can transfer and do all this. Carson bought in bigly. And because of that, developed into becoming, I think he's going to be one of the best centers in the country this year. And he might be the best. I know Seth won the Remington this year, but I think he could be in running for that as well. He's going to be that type of good. And he leads them to a national championship, as the centerpiece of that offensive line, the linchpin in the middle. And then what's awesome this year, Schlegs, you were around him last year watching him work. He's a pretty freaky athlete. But he was a big-time recruit, but not like some crazy, 5-star guy. He was out of Wisconsin. And I know probably killed Fick not to get him there. But he wanted to come to Ohio State. He wanted to get developed. And now Schlegs is, Mick, they've got in the weight room. They've got, 12 or 13 different tests: bench, squat, 10-yard dash, vertical jump, and the L drill, the pro agility, pull-ups, all the stuff, man, broad jump, vertical, all that stuff. And if you have gold is like champion level, red is like achieving, and then blue is like get better. These are subpar numbers.
Right.
And I think
Him and Veli, right?
Veli's close. I don't know if he's got it on his vert yet, which I don't know how. Like, dude, Veli, I had a 34.5 vertical jump when I was in college. You definitely should have that. You're way more athletic than me. But Carson was the first dude to be I call it the solid gold squad, Schlegs, where you might want to go to solid gold after that. As I was talking, AJ and I were talking about his boy Chase, the recruit that we brought there. But I mean, he was solid gold. And so, I mean, he's a dude. He's a straight up dude, elite athlete at the center position. And it's a story that probably not a lot of people want to live. Everybody wants to be tough, but nobody wants to do the things that get you there, because getting tough means doing hard stuff. And that sucks. Yeah. And sometimes it means eating your pride a little bit, eating that pride sandwich. It tastes a lot. Some funny things, like pride tastes a lot like turds most of the time. And that kind of sucks.
Yeah. I just look at one, I think it was the perfect fit for Seth and Carson to compete against each other. And I say that we've had Seth on the show. We know what Seth is about. Seth is kind of like this cerebral, dry humor, type guy. Wasn't necessarily over competitive in a lot of things outside of football, and the competitive excellence that transpires on a daily basis in Ohio State elevated that. And that included Carson pushing him, who was beating him. I witnessed it. Seth got better. Seth had already played a lot of ball, right? So then now you're in the backup role. Carson won the job. Good on good. Seth won the job. Carson now knows how to play center. Where can I add value? All right, I'm going to play inside. Being a guard, being a center, hey, I guarantee you had conversations. Hey, it's good to know both. It adds value when you go to the NFL. You are a smart guy. You can learn both. Guess what? When called upon, he responded, got put into a backup situation. Here's the other thing. I think the trials and tribulations that he went through personally and competitively gave him that little bit of chip, that little bit of extra nudge. So when I go out there, I get an opportunity to impose my will upon people. So my coaches and my peers can see what I can do in a game. Seth goes down, bumps over. Somebody else slides in the guard, right? Because they had Tegra, they had Austin, they had Donnie, then Donnie kicks out.
They have Luke Montgomery. It's kind of a similar story with Luke.
Very similar.
Luke was a guy that wanted to play more early on in his career. And I'm like, dude, do everything right all the time. How you do anything is how you do everything, and you'll get your chance. I promise you, man. I have not been around a guy, Schlegs, as you know, that doesn't get a shot. It's really the question is what you do with it, and are you ready for it when that time comes?
And sometimes, we I always go back and I ask the question, what is success to you? It's it doesn't matter when it happens. You're the starting center at Ohio State. Even if you were a backup that got it, you're the starting center at Ohio State. To your point, Bob, if he would have already had that position throughout those times, those games where he was a backup, would he have actually been ready and prepared to step into that moment? It just looks different. And I think all things happen for a reason. There's probably a maturity process that needed to transpire, both emotionally and socially even. And that allowed it to manifest. And then he was able to go in there and do exactly what he needed to do for us to be able to go on the run that we did. And he played an integral part in that. And now he's taking it. And to your point, he's a complete gold guy. All the standards for an offensive lineman he has met. And he is one of those guys. And Urban always talks about the 10-80-10 rule. And when you have great teams, it's not about just having the top 10 in the top 10. It's about how do I grow that top 10 to be the top 20, the top 30, and how do I elevate that bottom 80 into the middle 80 and the middle 80 into the top 80. That's the closer I can get with my entire team toward the top of that middle range and that top range, the better we're going to be. That's what they were last year at Ohio State. And now you have a leader in Carson through those trials and tribulations is the guy that's a voice of that, especially on the offensive line. They need that.
It is. And
especially when you've added portal, right? It's the mix. I think they just got a really good mix of how can you communicate, how can you be competitive throughout all the rooms at Ohio State. What I love the most is that we teach them to be able to celebrate their teammates' success while also wanting to compete against them and take their job. That's a fine balance. that only can come through a great relationship with your position coach and within your position room.
You stealing that from Coach Lachlan? It takes no energy, no effort to celebrate your teammate's success.
Well, that went off of what he talked about, but I think they do it at a really high level, considering even when you look at Q and Trey last year, it's like they both rushed for over 1,000 yards. I mean, all their stats were basically similar, and they both get drafted in the second round to teams that really need them and really like them. It's like it's the perfect storm, and that's what can happen at Ohio State, aka a Cody Simon who sat behind two guys for 3 years, got his opportunity. It was a 4th-round draft pick.
Dude, they're loving in Arizona, by the way. A lot of positive stuff. And by the way, Cody's back in town, working, grinding, like doing all the right things. And that's what don't forget what got you there. You stay with it. You keep doing all the right things. I'm trying to think who. It was oh my gosh, I read it at the golf outing. Eric Wood played for Buffalo for a long time, Louisville guy, really good player, Pro Bowl player. And he goes, when I got to the league, everyone told me, don't forget what got you here. He's like, so I would always go back to college and train. It's like when I was older, it was 4 days a week, or younger, 4 days a week. As I got older, I could only do it 2, and then I'd have to go to a trainer and do 2 days a week lifting just to kind of take it easier on my body. But they're like, do not forget what got you there. And so watching these guys make those strides, make those developments. And Luke Montgomery, maybe we'll do the offensive line to start next week, because there's a lot of those stories. The same thing with Austin Sarabelt. Now he's like a Swiss Army knife up there, what he's able to do and the value that's all created. Now they're just, they're really trying to hammer down that left tackle position, but you feel really good about 4 of the 5 guys because of how much they were forced to play last year, what was put on them, and then how they performed, Schlegs, in the clutch, in the biggest moments. And that's the thing. Like, they were going to play Carson Hinsman probably regardless, because at some point they didn't have anybody else. You're down to your 8th and 9th guy. But when you got in there, would they be able to lean on you? And would you be maybe even an upgrade just with your physicality, because you've been ready and you've been watching and you've been studying and taking the few reps you got in practice, making those things like game reps, and then studying and watching. So when your opportunity came, you were prepared. And your opportunity, by the way, was in some of the biggest moments towards the end of the season. And then going on that playoff run, playing in some hostile environments, loud environments against NFL caliber players on the opposition that you went against. And so Carson Hinsman, well done. Great story. And here's the best part. It's not even finished yet. The rest is still unwritten, as Natasha Bedingfield once said. All right. Like that, didn't you, Schlegs? All right, coming up,
like that.
There's some coaches who aren't going to be in the college football 26 game. Players had to sign and opt in. They're getting some compensation. I don't know if they were paying the coaches or not. Maybe not. Who knows? But there's a list of coaches that won't be there. 2 very notable guys. Actually, even a third after looking at the list. But there's 2 headliners that you'll see there. We'll talk about who those guys are next here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show.
This is amazing.
What are you looking at? The chat?
The chat is awesome. I love our chat. It's great. No, I'm looking at this list of coaches because I want to know, Bob, why?
Why? I don't know. Like, everybody's why is a little bit different. I don't know. I pulled that up in there, Pat. You got to be able to find it. It's somewhere.
No, I know it's right here. No, I got it on the show sheet.
Okay, yeah, I got it. I put it
says
in there.
Deion and Bill.
Yeah. So Deion and Bill. Okay, for 2 completely different reasons. Bill, because that's just Bill. He doesn't want to do anything unless he's selling his book and going and doing those interviews. Deion, I think you can make the argument, like, they maybe didn't want to pay him enough or pay him at all. Like, whatever that compensation package was, it wasn't hitting the spot for Coach Prime. So that's another thing. Do you have any hypotheses about this, Schlegs?
About why they're not in there?
Yeah. Why they opt? I mean, you have to opt out. Like, it doesn't. Ryan Day's in there. James Franklin's in there.
What are my hypotheses as to why? I mean, Bill could have wanted his fiance to be in there instead of him
Do you
potentially.
think that was
No,
it? Her to be
like,
the
no,
assistant?
sorry. It should have been the assistant, like holding the clipboard. No, that's not the reason.
Maybe they put her as a cheerleader.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they didn't like the configuration of their body, right? Because like Dion has to walk around with a limp, right? He has like a half shoe, and he looked like Papa Smurf, maybe.
Come on. He does look like Papa Smurf with that white beard.
He does. And I'm completely joking. I have no clue why any of these people would not want to be in there, on the game. Maybe they're just like, oh, I don't act like that, and you're giving me these things. Like, could you imagine Tress being in the game with the sweater vest and the tie, and then having him throw his headgear down, or when he gets mad?
No, so you have to give him the personality of the coach. That's
100%. Maybe Urban, that's the thing. Maybe they don't like that.
And then you'd have to have
like this. He'd be like,
Holt would have had to been behind him,
yes,
pulling him back all the time. When he threw that headgear, what game was that in?
Ryan threw a headgear. They auctioned it off at the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer. Remember, that was the scoop and score headgear toss.
Oh yeah, that was not good. Urban used to throw a lot, but Ryan is much more measured with it. He'll strip it off, but Urban take it and throw that thing as hard as he could. And then Volt would have to be back there just like a 13-year-old girl trying to dog walk a bull mastiff, trying to get a hold of him over there. Tress, I don't know if you ever saw this, it was in what's his podcast called? All for the Team, or what is his? Are you listening to me?
All About the Team.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, All About the Team.
I'm listening to you, and I'm in the chat. I'm in the chat.
Chat's a danger.
The chat gets you over there because somebody was just talking about Luke Montgomery starting against Tennessee as his first start. And I was like, because they were like, no, he probably went in there and said, if you're not starting me, I'm leaving. And I'm just telling you guys right now, that is not how this shit goes down. Excuse my language. Just so you guys know, if I had an athlete, right, Coach Locke said it, I'm cooking the chicken. There is no athlete that's 18 to 22 years old that's going to go in there and says, I'm leaving if I don't play. It's based upon.
I don't know, Schleiss. I once told Jim Haycock that I wasn't going back in unless they put Trevor Robinson back in on kickoff after he.
That was different. You were speaking up for. I don't know why Bill Connolly named me Sergeant Rock when Trevor was the absolute man on kickoff who would just give his. He's the guy that's going to jump on a grenade, right, Trevor? That's what he was on kickoff. And I do remember you doing that, but you were sticking up for a teammate. My point is this: that was because of what transpired prior to that SEC first round playoff game.
Yeah.
And what you talked about earlier, Bob, and the consistency of which you've practiced. You're making strides. How this works is, Coach, conversation, hard convo. Coach, what do I got to do to play, man? I think I'm better than that guy.
You really want to know? Let's sit down and
you
watch
really
the
want to
film.
know? Let's watch this. Look at it. Look at all these notes. I'm telling you, you keep doing this false step. Look at our one-on-ones. He doesn't get beat. Same guys. Remember, I talked to you guys on this show and acknowledged him about competitive excellence, right? Hey, why are we doing a grip test and he weighs 200 pounds? We're supposed to do half your body weight and I weigh 180. Shouldn't I do 90s and he do 100s? Guess what? When you go into the game, whoever you got to block, nobody gives a crap. It's about who wins. So let's click on the tape. Boom. You flip it on there. Here's a mistake. Here's a mistake. The eye in the sky never lies. Here's what you're doing. Here's where I need you to get better. I need you to be more consistent. Can you do that? Yes, coach. Awesome. Transparent. It lays it out. Guys not playing up to the standard of which we need. We need to make an adjustment. You've been consistent. You've been doing everything I asked for you to do. Guess what? When called upon, let's respond. And through practice, man, I really like the way they gel together. They communicate really well together. Let's do it. Let's roll it. I believe in it. That's how it happens. I'm just saying, that's how it happens. I think so many times people think that, especially in college football, that the kids rule the playing time aspect. And that is not the case as much as it is in the NFL with contracts and how much money they paid a guy. There's a little bit more hierarchy there than there is in the college.
Yeah. Well, and some of it is in the NFL. Like the head coach isn't in charge. The owner or the GM maybe paid this guy, and then they're going to be told who's going to play. And I will say this: Luke started. Tiger Shabola played very poorly against Michigan, and he had to take a little humble pill. I mean, he's a big-time recruit out of Cincinnati. And then he played much better because they started rotating those guys at guard.
They started rotating.
And he played a lot better too. Like, dude, competition, like it's going to bring out the best in you. All of a sudden, you're like, well, we're going to start this guy. We're going to play you, but we'll play you as much as you deserve to be played. So now all of a sudden, like nobody's spot is guaranteed, and that forces guys to elevate. One of the things going back to the game real quick, when you talked about Tress and all about the team, I don't know if it was with us or with someone, but he talked about the head coach, and he goes, they have to have confidence painted on their face at all times, good, bad, or whatever. And so you go watch him, like everything that happened always looked like it was planned. Even if we just threw a pick six, gave up a touchdown, like you never saw Tress going crazy, yelling at people. Say, all right, like that happened. Did we not think bad plays were going to happen in this game? Let's go, and keep on rolling. And so everybody's got their own style of how they do it. You've got to kind of lean in to what you are emotionally. And Tress is, people always ask us, what was Jim Tressel's like best pregame speech? You guys came out here against this game, or you came out at halftime and did all this. Like, did we go in at halftime? Dino and Fick would be like up our rear ends, yelling at us. The offense would be like just hanging out over there. Defensive coach is going crazy, and then we'd all come up and Tress would look at us like, men, you know what to do. Now let's go do it.
That's honestly, guys. That is, listen, one of the differences probably from Tress and Urban was how hard the offensive practice. Like, Bob, you were there, right? Like the guys with Dino and then Haycock and Fick, like it was a battle every practice, man. Like, and then you would look over at the other field and it's like, what the Sam Dickens is going on?
That's what Fick would say. Don't look down there. I'm like,
don't look down.
Don't look down there.
Why are we doing this? I mean, next thing you know, I'm doing bear crawls and up downs for 100, 200 yards. And like, we're running angles and all this stuff and like full on contact.
Oh yeah.
But like, I loved it. I thought that was a missing piece. Urban brought that to the offensive side of the football, kind of changed the dynamic. But it just goes back to what you're talking about, Bob. And I don't care who you root for. And that's where, like, I don't get in discussion boards because I think it's childish and I'm a grown ass man. But I would say this.
But you love our chat.
I love our chat, but I just don't understand the banter back and forth between fans because I could give two craps because every year is a new year. And I like to talk about the positive stuff, which is I see good I can see good in all organizations. One, guys, you're talking to two guys that know a lot of people in the space. I probably know, I don't know, of the 132, 134 strength coaches that are out there, I probably like have personal relationships with like 100 and something of them, So I see what goes on in the back end. I see the development of the guys.
Relationships.
I don't. They're good relationships, right? Call them. I just try to help and serve. But the point being is this: why I love the college game so much. There's so much maturity and growth from one year to the next, like you can't even quantify it compared to what happens in the NFL. It's just different, man. Like it's a different mindset. And it goes back to Bob to where you get other people in your corner chirping at you that this is what you got to do, but people forget what got them there, right? It was the hard training. It was the competitiveness. It was these things. And when you go on your own and you now have maybe a little bit more of a path of least resistance, doesn't mean you don't train a little smarter because there's more age on the body, but you still need some of those things to, you got
to file the edges a little bit, man. You just can't turn into a soft batch cookie.
And that's why I love us talking about this because
all right,
you're
going to have to stop.
I'm done.
Take a break. We'll get back to it here in a minute.
Group chat.
At the end of the day, Mario Cristobal, Deion Sanders, Kirk
Why
Ferentz,
didn't they do it?
Who knows? Why didn't they? Trent Dilfer's on there. He's on that list too. If you click across it.
I saw it.
Yeah, it's a pretty robust list. Jacksonville
Kelly. State.
Yeah, not the Charles Kelly from Lady Antebellum. Charles Kelly from Jacksonville State. Frank Reich of Stanford. I mean, dude, give your guys some props. All right, enough with that. We're going to tell you we got headlines coming up next, but I want to tell you about our friends over at Backer, BCKR. elite Buckeye gear for elite Buckeye fans, found to make a better quality fan gear. They've got the products that are better than anything else. I was just doing a shoot with them yesterday, Schlegs. I had that windbreaker on. It was about 90 degrees, and I still wasn't really
I
sweating.
see it
No,
looking
it was
hot.
looking good. It was great. And I even realized, Schlegs, you can pull it apart. The features we're talking about, like if you've seen the pouch in the back, you can invert it and then tuck all this thing in a pouch, and it's got one of the little hook deals, and you can just like hook it on your belt if it gets hot.
Hey, guess what, Bob? Guess what, Bob? It's Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas. Michigan's not on there because they have the worst colors in all of college football.
Yeah, they are expanding their stuff though. They're bringing in a couple more. I think Georgia, maybe A&M.
That's okay. The Michigan fan store that they have will just
okay.
Keep all
I think
money.
they might be getting it with the team up north as well. But it's the lead high-end gear. It's bckr.com. Use promo code all caps Bobby for free express shipping. That's backer bckr.com. Be sure to go check them out. We got our headlines coming up next.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right, headlines. They're brought to you, my friends, over at Lake Spur Marketing, Schlegs. They use their over 100 years in combined experience to choose the best marketing strategies to fit your company, not some generic plan that they throw out there like a lot of people do. They're going to shield you from all the cold callers trying to pitch you the latest and greatest from all their new products. What they're going to do is they're going to take the marketing for their team to help grow your business while you can do what you do best, which is run your business. And here's the best part. They eliminate the waste and they deliver on budget, so you're not going to get overcharged. Trust the experts. Trust Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in their partners. Visit lakespurmarketing.com today. All right, Schlegs. Michigan's got a talented young quarterback, Bryce Underwood. True freshman coming in. They paid him a bunch of money to go there. He's going to go to LSU, ends up going to Michigan. And Ryan Clark had a line about him. And I do respect Ryan in this. I worked with him for 3-4 years at ESPN. And we used to always talk. We'd work out together up in the gym on Sundays before the games would get going. And he was telling me, like when Justin Fields transferred up, he goes, man, Justin Fields was the best quarterback, and he had seen him in camp. I thought he was better than Trevor Lawrence coming out. He goes, this guy's really good. It's like, all right. Like, because he always wonders, Schlegs, like, how good is the guy when he's getting there? So throw that up, Pat, about Bryce Underwood. But he said, this is what Ryan Clark said. So this is what Ohio State's going to have to deal with. He said, I've seen Trevor Lawrence, seen Justin Fields, seen C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Jaden Daniels, all at this age. He, meaning Bryce Underwood, is better than every single one of them. So the headline is, Schlegs, this is going to be a big task for the Buckeye defense if this is real, and it's not insurmountable. Jonathan Moxon's just one man, but you're going to have to raise your level of play to be able to get this done.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is I kind of view this. I'm trying to think of a better comparison. Well, let's look at Penn State and Aller. And obviously, I'm not comparing what Ryan Clark said about Bryce Underwood to Aller. But a quarterback is also only as good as the weapons that are around him and the protection that he receives to be able to throw the football. And we've known, like, Michigan has predominantly had a good tight end. They relied upon that a lot. What does the running game look like? What are they going to be? Are they going to be a play action pass set off the run? We looked at what transpired with Aller in Penn State last year, where his furthest completion downfield was 7 yards because guys couldn't get open. You're not able to exploit what the capabilities of the quarterback position are predicated upon the personnel that you have. And that's probably where some of the elevation. Again, Michigan's had some great offensive linemen. They won the Joe Moore Award, I think, a couple of times in a row. I believe that was like 22 and 23. Really, really good dudes, man. But if you don't have the weapons, you can't utilize the gifts that Underwood has. So And again, great challenge. And how do you impact that challenge, Bob? You affect the quarterback. You got to hit him. You got to hit him often.
Impact people, Schlegs. That's what it's all about. We want to hear your impact. Fire away some questions in the chat for our tailgate talk coming up next. Wow,
These guys are, man. You just now dabbling in there?
Well, I've been kind of reading it. So I actually have to manage the time of the show, and so you just keep talking and getting in here.
I'm sorry. It's beautiful.
It is. It's good. There's a lot of things in here. I mean, my goodness. There's a Michigan fan in here talking about the annual Buckeye meltdown, NIL happening, losing 5 stars, which I don't know if that's actually true. I mean, Trent Dilfer caught a stray in here by Joe. Trent Dilfer is actually the coach. And then someone throws in there, Chris, nothing against Dilfer, but he was the worst quarterback to win a Super Bowl in NFL history. Or was he? But you know what they call the guy to graduate last from med school, Schlegs?
Doctor.
Yeah. You know what they call the worst quarterback to win a Super Bowl in Super Bowl history?
Super Bowl champion.
Super Bowl champion. So we can get into the minutia of that. We can argue all those things.
Do that question because I want to hear, because I have one that's on my mind. The one I put in the chat about, I'll say it. Ed Rogers brought this question. Do players occasionally win jobs based on seniority, AKA Julian Fleming, for example, right? And then I would say even there's Cody and Tommy and Steele. I would even go back, like the one that top of mind would be Braxton and
Bowserman.
That one, right?
You were there. That was your first year.
And I'm gonna tell you guys this. I think
it's hard to start a true freshman at quarterback, though. That's
exactly. But to me, it's like in the situation we were in as a staff, you play the talent more because you don't know if you're going to have a second year to right the ship, right? So play it, give them live bullets. Like you ain't taking them with you because we all going to be gone, right? Like, that's kind of the point. I would say this. You give the seniority the job when it's equal.
Yeah.
And because why? You're developing the other one.
Oh, especially I think if you have a veteran team too. Like sometimes it depends on the team you have. You got a lot of seniors playing. I go, if you're going to put in a young guy over a veteran, they're all boys together. They've been through 3, 4, 5 years. So the young guy, like everybody knew JJ Smith was a dog. So like
guys, that was second practice. Remember that, Bob? Like you were there. You and I were there. And like when you have multiple senior dudes that have been around a lot of ball that literally walk off the field, look at me and Bob as we're sitting over there in the back, like just doing what we do, and say, put them on the shelf. We're good. Like they've seen enough.
I've seen enough to have seen enough. Like, and you're good with that. Phil threw in there in the chat, Phil J. I saw Bob retweet Gonzo's catch against the Scum, Michigan game. What's your favorite memory from playing the game? Like Gonzo's catch was great. The play that Troy made on top of it's even better. We got it in there. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. We're short on time today, but that is probably the greatest play I've ever seen in person. And that includes Jeremiah Smith and the catch, and that includes Jack Sawyer and all that. Like, the way that it broke out for Troy. We'll dive into that more. We're up against it, Schlegs. Get your parting thoughts ready because you got about 30 seconds to hammer it after this. All right, Schlegs, your parting thoughts.
Parting thoughts are this, guys. Listen, everybody has to root for somebody, and I absolutely love our chat and keep it classy. But it's a new year; it's 2025. Super excited about it. And in the chat, continue to throw in things that you would like for us to discuss and dive into from real perspective of not only dudes that have played, have covered a lot of ball, coached at multiple levels. Like we're here to give you all the real content It's not fake, so you guys know. So, anyways, go Bucks.
That's amazing. And maybe we can even get Pat. I was thinking about this as it was getting wild today. I mean, Pat, maybe we can even 3-box that and just have the chat rolling through some of the show. Just really get the folks out there to be able to see as you're watching this, maybe not in real time, watching it later, just how wild it gets. And all the vitriol.
We like the spice, Bob. Like, I mean,
like to
honestly,
say,
Chris, you're
no
right.
one wants to
We
eat.
like the spice.
So like, that's why I don't live in England, because I hate bland food. All right. They may speak the same language, but their food sucks because there's no seasoning on it. Keep it spicy. Stay locked into the Bobby Carpenter Show.